Welcome back to Fridgestuck, where we discuss the allusions and references in Homestuck. What has two horns, cerulean blood, and works within a constant state of gray morality? If you said Vriska Serket, you'd be right. Vriska's name was suggested by Taryn and Chin Music on the old MSPA forums. Her first name is mostly considered to be a shortened version of Vriska. Both the Hindi and Sanskrit form of this word reference the constellation and month in the Indian solar calendar that overlaps with Scorpio, Vriska's sign. Part of the fanbase also considers her name to be derived from Kalpavrishka, a mythological wish-granting tree that Hindu myth says was born out of the ocean, along with Kadmadhenu, the divine cow that bestows all needs, possibly hinting at Vriska's ties with the seas, as well as her neighbor Equius. The tree is also said to be the Milky Way, or the birthplace of Sirius, the dog star. Vriska's caste name, Serket, derives from the Egyptian goddess with the same name. The name Serket means she who causes the throat to breathe. This, along with her being seen as a patron protector of pharaohs, links her to her Homestuck counterpart's vested interest in Tavros Nitram, the Page of Breath, and more blatantly, John Egbert, the Heir of Breath. Despite being a scorpion, Serket was worshipped as a healer of venomous stings and bites, as well as a protector of the dead. In addition, Serket is the goddess that protects other deities from Apophis, the giant evil snake demon. This could explain why Vriska's survival and shenanigans ultimately lead to victory in the final battle against Lord English in the Dream Bubbles. Vriska's chum handle is Arachnid's Grip, representing her aesthetic for spiders and scorpions, as well as her habit of controlling or attempting to control others into doing her bidding, either through manipulation or the use of her psychic powers. Her typing quirk revolves around the number 8, replacing B and 8 sounds with the number 8. She sometimes multiplies vowels and ending punctuation by 8 for emphasis, and uses 4 colons for 8 eyes for her smileys. When frustrated, she replaces her vowels with the letter 8 a lot more liberally. Vriska's Strife specibus is dice kind, with the only known variant being the fluorite Octet, a set of 8 D8 die. Said to be the weapon of choice for seafaring gambligants, such as Vriska's ancestor, the Octet is used by rolling the dice and having the attack type randomly determined by the dice's outcome, based on which number rolls first. This makes the number of the statistical permutations 8 to the 8th power, or 16,777,216 outcomes, something that Doc Scratch references in one of his monologues. The attacks we know show various levels of strength, with the most powerful being 8 crits, causing Vriska to enter Ancestral Awakening mode, where Vriska's clothes take after her ancestors, and it gives her a massive sword that can presumably take down godlike beings. However, it's possible that the dice has different effects based on the wielder and alchemizations, since John Egbert's Pop-O-Matic Vrillihu hammer, alchematized from the Octet, showed much sillier potential results than Vriska's. Lastly, the name of the fluorite Octet is possibly a reference to the theatrical version of Peter Pan, specifically for the villainous Captain Hook. According to Aradia Megiddo, the Alternian version of Captain Hook lost both his eye and arm to a tick-tocking crocodile, which Vriska emulates. Both versions of Hook die, but while break heads were the last words of the Alternian Hook, the human Captain Hook's last sentence is the Latin phrase floreat etona, sounding suspiciously close to the name of Vriska's dice. Vriska's ancestor was the Marquis Spinneret Mindfang, the post-scratch version of Arania, the Sylph of Light. We arguably hear about Mindfang the most out of all of the ancestors. Maybe an equal amount of times to the Condess, and this is because of her journal. It's through the lens of Mindfang's writing that we learn about the lives of adult trolls, and what kind of people the society's kids want to become. We learn about Dualscar, the Summoner, Red Glare, and the final fates of the Dolorosa and the Expatriate. Vriska even found the Octet because of the pages. Of course, this brings up the question whether or not we're working with a reliable narrator. Mindfang was the leader of a group of pirates after all, and as one can expect, a diary puts focus on the writer as the protagonist, and therefore puts her in a more positive light. It's rare not to root for a protagonist. I think that's what made Arania go off the rails. Anyway, Mindfang had a kismesis, Orphaner Dualscar, who she loved to torment by having red flings with low-blood trolls. Considering Dualscar was Eridan's ancestor, this would not go over well. When a Jade Blood, presumably the Dolorosa, involuntarily joins Dualscar's crew, Mindfang, through dubious consent, takes her as a lover. Dualscar finally snaps. Curtains for the Dolorosa. This action causes Mindfang to break off her relationship with the Orphaner, because she was, in her words, very fond of that slave. Dualscar reports Mindfang's actions to the High Bloods, who send neophyte Red Glare to apprehend her and bring her to justice. Mindfang takes the action in jest, but finds out the hard way that Red Glare is serious business. Her fleet meets the flames of Pyralspite, Red Glare's Lucis. Pyralspite also takes Mindfang's left eye, while the neophyte takes her arm. Mindfang starts to covet the power of Pyralspite, and wants to make its power hers. She later went on trial, the High Bloods allowing even Low Bloods to attend to see her end. This was a terrible miscalculation, as Low Bloods are easy for Mindfang to control. Red Glare dangled from her own gallows. And in one final insurmountable act, Mindfang killed his honorable tyranny and escaped. With terrible injuries and her crew gone, Mindfang set her sight on gaining control of Pyralspite, but first she sought respite. She visited her old friend, the Expatriate, who built her a robot arm and kept safe her most dangerous treasure, Doc Scratch's cue ball. It is revealed that Mindfang was being mentored by Doc Scratch in the same way Vriska in the future would be. She was also able to see into the magic cue ball, but with her vision eightfold gone, the future was blind to her. So she hides the journal, the cue ball, and the octet for Vriska to find. Innumerable years in the future, Mindfang meets the revolutionary figure, the Summoner. She becomes his matesprit and is later killed by him, as the cue ball foretold before she lost her sight. What had attracted her to the Summoner? Was it just because the cue ball told her to, or was there a certain dragon she wanted to control? What were the circumstances behind Mindfang's death? Was it a mercy killing after a failed battle for freedom? Revenge? Betrayal? We may never know, and neither would Vriska. Vriska takes the events of Mindfang's journal as a guide for her own life. This is a common aspect in the lives of our Alternian trolls, following in the footsteps of your ancestor, whether you know it or not. But Vriska seems to take this further than most. Not only does it seem that Vriska knew who to form what kind of relationship with specifically, she also would literally attempt to mold others into the likeness of their ancestor by any means available. See Tavros Nitrum. This poor timid boy gets thrust into so many situations Vriska orchestrates, until he gets sick of the drama and leaves her in the dream bubbles. Speaking of dream bubbles, Arania really admired her alternate self's life, which she saw as more compelling than her own, to the point where she ditched her name for Mindfang, and then initiated game over. In China, red is the color of good luck and fortune, which is why you'll see red-colored everything during happy celebrations like Chinese New Year or weddings. Red shoes in particular are popular purchases around Chinese New Year. Surprisingly, Vriska is the only light player to wear red shoes in God tier form. It's by far more typical for cyan blue, reminiscent of the Breath player's color scheme, to be used for footwear. I wonder what makes Vriska so different. The reason for Vriska being a blue-blooded troll may have to do with arachnoology, since both spiders and scorpions have blue blood. Vriska's characterization seems to derive itself from stereotypical Scorpio traits. Scorpio is also the 8th sign in the zodiac. Coincidentally, the asterisk is on the number 8 key on your average keyboard, and sometimes an asterisk is used in simplified versions of Vriska's 7 pupilled eyes. Funnily enough, oxygen also is the 8th element, has 8 protons, 8 neutrons, and 8 electrons, which might explain her crushes on Breath players. One of Vriska's themes is crystal anthology, from the song family of the crystal anthemums. In a few circles, chrysanthemums are considered to be the flower corresponding to Scorpio. Chrysanthemums are also considered to represent longevity, and is used as the symbol of the Emperor of Japan, the land of the rising sun. Did I already mention the scorpion's claw? In case I didn't mention it in Terezi's episode, the reason Homestuck's Scourge sisters are so close is because the real-world Libra constellation was originally part of Scorpio. Libra's stars were originally known as the claws of the scorpion in Babylonian and in Greek cultures, until the Roman Empire made Libra its own constellation. When asked about the possibility of Mary Sue characters in the webcomic, creator Andrew Hussey declared that, while a traditional version might not exist, he did concede that Vriska might just be a medieval parody Sue. He said on Formspring that she lives her life as her own self-aggrandizing, wildly powerful self-insert character, always comes out on top, and never suffers consequences. But she mocks her own actions harshly. Of course, Hussey and the fandom at large don't think Vriska's a villain, just a complicated character whose actions lead to antagonistic consequences. As I've stated several times before, Vriska uses dice, like Tavros' Exile, Heart's Boxcars, while Tavros uses a lance, like Snowman, Vriska's Exile. Vriska has a real Instagram account. That's all I wrote for that section. One of the biggest realizations that came from Homestuck's TV Tropes Fridge page is that Vriska ruined a perfectly good Spurb game. The beta kids could have won their game if not for Vriska's actions in the creation of Bec Noir. In less than 24 hours, Dave and Jade bred the perfect universe frog, something the trolls took way much longer to do, and didn't do properly. Unlike the trolls, the Earth kids are already good enough to win their game. However, due to plot shenanigans, we will never find out what the kids could have done, had Vriska not interfered. Vriska Serket is the Thief of Light. The light aspect does not translate as literal sunlight. That's the hope aspect. Light is something closer to luck or fortunate endings. Given the astronomical odds of rolling favorable outcomes with the Octet, Vriska certainly has luck on her side. One might say, all the luck? All of it. Besides inducing long, rambling monologues that one can't escape from, the light aspect is also attached to information and discovery. The extended Zodiac quiz even goes on to say that light players search for knowledge so fiercely that it can disgust others. At their best, light players are resourceful and driven, At their worst, they're fussy, pedantic, and insensitive. Light players also tend to see laws as guidelines than actual rules, willing to break them when necessary. And considering Vriska is a thief, that last statement is very true, in multiple senses. How coincidental is it that the 8th commandment is "Thou shalt not steal"? An active class, a thief was described in the comic as one who steals through their aspect, or just outright steals their aspect from others to boost themselves. This is not to be confused with rogues, who steal from others to give to others. If you want a more literal representation of her title, Vriska causing Terezi to go blind effectively steals the light from Terezi's vision. And the last Fridgestuck fact for Vriska Serket is... Vriska's dice are most likely made of its namesake, fluorite. Fluorite is a mineral that forms into isometric cubes, but octahedral shapes are not uncommon. It's colorless in its pure form, but can turn colors when exposed to certain impurities. One really rare kind of fluorite is found only in Castletown in Derbyshire, England. It's kind of purplish with yellowish bands. Pretty, huh? It's really scarce. Only a few hundred kilograms are found each year. Why is this so important to Vriska, you may ask? Guess what its name is. Drum roll, please. Blue John. Thank you guys so much for watching this Fridgestuck episode for Vriska Serket. I hope you enjoyed. Is there a fact that I missed? Is there a character or concept that you'd like to see? Leave it down in the comments below and it might end up on the show someday. Be sure to give a like, comment, subscribe, and share with a friend, and check out my Patreon, and I will see you all next time. Bye!
I kind of want short hair.
Don't do it, you'll regret it.
Are you me
From the future, yeah.
Could you fix middle school for us?
I only got one chance.
Hey there. Consider becoming a patron, just like the phenomenal Bleed Red, Alexander Madeline, Uranium Coffee, and Ryan Nelson.